If you're feeling really overwhelmed as a teacher right now, you're not alone. I know what it's like to be up all night just worrying about how much planning you've got to get done, how much marking you need to do, how many things you need to catch up on. And there's always that one student that you really worry about. Being in the classroom is one of the most emotionally draining jobs because there's so much that you have to think about. You're taking on 30 little children's safety, their health, thinking about their learning, trying to make sure they're all happy and working together nicely. So it's a lot to take on. And no matter what's going on in your personal life, you have to come in day after day, every day, with this really positive vibe, this like energy. And sometimes you're tired. Sometimes your kids have kept you up all night. Sometimes you just need a break. So I think we all know that teaching is a really, really hard career. But over the time that I was teaching, I managed to find these little tools and tricks to really help me in managing this stress and all of the responsibilities that come with the job. So today I'm going to be sharing 10 different ways to help you manage all of the stress and responsibilities that come with teaching. And these are both a mixture of things that I did as a teacher myself that really worked, and also things that I wish I did more of. So the first way to reduce your stress and workload is live marking. So live marking just means that you're marking students' work as you're teaching them. So for example, if you're doing a maths class and everybody started their activity, you can quickly go round and just tick off all of the questions that you can see they've answered. And this is also really great because in real time you can check which students have understood the lesson and are completing the task accurately, and which students just need that extra help. And what I would used to do is I would go round and I'd check in with every single student unless they were working with a TA already, and I would double check how they were getting on. And if I noticed they were struggling and getting questions wrong, I would just bring those students down to the carpet and I could in real time address anything that they were struggling with and do it in a small group. Because otherwise it would lead me into like having to do it at lunchtime or catch them up the next class. So if you can get a lot of your marking done in real time while the lesson's actually taking place, then this is going to massively reduce your marking after school. The second thing is to have non-negotiable downtime. So when I was teaching, I would just allocate 2 times per week where after work I would do something for myself. This might be going for a nice walk if it's a sunny day, meeting a friend or FaceTiming them to have a catch up. It might be doing some baking or cooking a really nice meal, having a candlelit bath or watching a film, or just going to the gym and working out. So I'd always make time 2 times a week where it was like an appointment. So just like you're not going to miss parents' evening, I would have time to just look after myself, because being a teacher, it's really important to make sure you've had rest and time for yourself so that you can really show up and be the best teacher that you really are. The third thing is setting realistic to-do lists. So I think we all know as teachers that a lot of the job has unrealistic expectations, like sometimes you are kind of expected to mark 120 books per day, and that's just not realistic. So try to make sure you're setting yourself realistic expectations so you're not constantly beating yourself up thinking you haven't completed this to-do list. For example, a realistic to-do list could be printing off the activity for your next day, ensuring that the homework books have been marked because parents will be seeing these, and ensuring you're prepared for a staff meeting so that you've got anything you need to present or do and you're ready for this. So that's just a quick example of those non-negotiable things that you have to do immediately, because otherwise, you know, someone's going to catch you out. But in terms of just having books marked and planning things properly, you're never realistically going to be able to mark every single book every evening. It's just not a realistic part of the job. So I would just make sure you've got 3 things that absolutely have to get done, and be really happy and proud of yourself once you've done these things, and anything else is just a bonus. Sometimes you will just have to put a film on in your class to get some marking done, or you might just have to take one day per month to just do 5 pages of marking at once. But please don't get stressed if you don't get it done, because really it's more important to look after yourself. So this brings us on to the next one nicely, which is to use your TA wisely. So I remember I had many different support staff, and looking back, I probably didn't use them to my advantage as much as I could have. So it's really important that when you do have extra staff that can support you, to make sure you're taking the time to really explain things properly to them so that they can start to help you out with small jobs or helping out with the children, to really teach them in small groups. Because if you never take the time to really train them properly and show you some of your systems or how you like things to be done, then they're just going to be sat there watching you, not really making the most effective use of their time. For example, they could be supporting a small group of children, they could be setting up activities for you, they could be doing some marking for you, they could be organising things for you. But whatever those jobs are that can just feel really overwhelming, try to break them up and see what your TA could do to help you. And the 5th thing is to use pre-made resources and to simply just put your own stamp on it. I did work in some schools where they had lots of resources we could access. So they'd subscribe to things like White Rose Maths, or they'd have Read Write Inc. So lots of the resources were already there, and I could simply just put my own stamp on it. But then if you are in a school where there aren't many resources, there are loads of sites like Twinkle, like Tess, where you can simply just download a worksheet, put up a PowerPoint, and then you can kind of make it your own by adding the odd slide or the odd picture to really put your own stamp on it. But please don't try and spend hours creating your own resources. For example, I remember as a student teacher, there was quite a lot of pressure to create everything yourself and reinvent the wheel. And I remember drawing around a glue stick to design clocks so that the children could have a worksheet to practice telling the time. And looking back, I don't know why I was doing that when there are so many pre-made resources that I could have just simply pressed print on and then made a little slideshow, or just found a slideshow and added a few of my own slides to make it my own. So moral of the story, please don't feel you have to make everything from complete scratch, because there's so much out there and you can simply tweak it and make it your own. And the next thing is delegating tasks to students. So when I was teaching, I remember that I would have to stick in lots of worksheets for the students. And I don't know why, but I was told that the students couldn't do this because it would be very messy and it wouldn't look neat. So I would spend hours just sticking probably 60 sheets in a day, which was ridiculous. So what I did in the end was I trained up a few students who are very sensible, and I would show them how to stick the sheets in perfectly and make sure they hadn't skipped a page or made sure they weren't doing it upside down. So I would sit there and kind of monitor them, but we'd all sit there sticking all these worksheets in, and I would also do it as part of my soft start to the day, so I'd get them all set up doing this. But things like that, also sharpening pencils, putting things away, so keeping the classroom organised and tidy. If you've got books, they might organise the bookshelves for you. This will really save so much time and energy, and also the students love it because it gives them that sense of responsibility. The next thing is to avoid small talk. This might sound a bit antisocial, but I found that when I was teaching, there was kind of a pressure to have lots of chats with so many people. And I remember my classroom was one of the first classes in the corridor. So you can imagine, in quite a large school, every single person that walked past would pop in for a little chat. And it was nice to have a little chat, but when you're there, you're trying to mark work, you're trying to plan your lessons, it did start to get really difficult to kind of keep it to a minimum without feeling rude. So I remember when I moved to another school, I deliberately tried to avoid this situation from happening again. So I would just say very politely, "Good morning," and just get straight back to my work. So if you keep having all these regular chats and catch-ups with people, then it can often make you lose track of the task at hand and what you've come in early to do, or why you're staying late to finish certain things. And I think especially because teachers are naturally really bubbly, chatty and friendly people, you can just quickly find yourself there till like 7 p.m. having a really good gossip or a chat. So try to minimize this as much as possible. And if you have already set up those habits of having daily check-ins with people, just be a bit more honest and say, I've got so much work to do, we'll chat tomorrow, or we'll chat another time because I'm really busy right now. And the next thing is to take an actual break. So this kind of relates to the whole small talk thing, but I remember at lunchtime, for me, this just didn't feel like a break because I'm one of those people that just needs silence. Like, I find it quite draining to just keep talking. And because I think most people would find that quite funny because I do love to talk. But when you're teaching, you're talking so much and you're so exhausted that when it comes to lunchtime, that I just wanted space. I wanted to really chill out and to just be in my own head to really like process everything. So I think for me, looking back, the best days was when I just took a walk, got out of the school environment, just have that time for myself to really just pause and have space in my mind to relax. I can almost just imagine that feeling now. But when you're in the staff room, there's pressure to make small talk, to chat, to maybe discuss things that are quite stressful, like the planning or the marking, or how did your lesson go. So I found it just nice to have at least 10 minutes of just walking outside or just sitting in your classroom to have a bit of peace and quiet, although children would sometimes interrupt, which is why I preferred to just take it outside to just relax. So in a nutshell, just make sure your lunch break is something that you truly find relaxing, to make sure you're energized, ready for the afternoon. And the next one is to not drink to de-stress. And I think a lot of people will probably disagree with this because it's part of the culture where people have a drink after work, they go to the pub, and they just view it as like the thing that you do after teaching. But I found that when I did drink after work, it quickly slipped into a habit of almost having a drink daily, which obviously made me wake up with a bit of a headache. I just wouldn't feel my best. And also, it's not good for you to drink. It's not good for your health. So one-off occasional drink, fine. But I think if that is your way to cope with stress, then obviously it's not a tool that you can keep using. And I do think it's a common one that teachers go to, just having a drink, because it's such a stressful job. But what I did eventually was, instead of having a drink, I noticed what was happening. So instead, I would have a bath, I would go on a walk, I would catch up with a friend, I'd try and do some baking. So I wanted to create healthy habits and ways to de-stress that I could maintain in the long run. And the final thing is to do fun activities with your class. So I remember when I first started out, I kind of felt like a bit restricted to do everything that the other classes were doing. But some of the things that I really loved to do with my class were very different. Nobody else was really doing them. And they were the things that really made me want to become a teacher. So some of them were just simple things like having a teddy bear that the children could all take turns taking home, and then we'd write about it and share their experiences. Also, I used to start every maths lesson with, "Are you a maths wizard?" And they chant back, "Yes, I am." And then one of the kids would dress up as a little maths wizard, and it was just so cute, and the kids loved it, the parents loved it, and they'd come in to take little pictures. But these were just some of the things that really kept the class alive. And I think if you forget to do these things that you just love doing and they really make you feel connected with your students, then you kind of lose that love for teaching. So remember, yes, do everything you're told to do, but don't forget to do the things that truly make you feel like a great teacher and the things that kind of made you choose this career. So those are all of the 10 things, and I just want you to remember that sometimes the reason we get so stressed out in teaching is because we feel we can't do the main thing that we wanted to do in this career, which is to teach. And that's why a lot of us leave. So I really hope you can continue teaching the way you know you can do best, and I hope these tips and tricks really help you. Also, I know that we've discussed a lot in this video, so I'm going to pop it all into a nice checklist so that you can really take time to reflect and apply these things. So to download the checklist, just click on the link in the description and pop in your email address, and I'll send it straight to your inbox. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye!